Today we're going to start talking about database design, and there are a few videos that you can watch to help understand the concepts in this chapter. So when you think about designing anything, including a database, you don't go and you start immediately thinking about what are the tables that I'm going to be storing and what are the attributes and their data types, and you don't go to that level of abstraction. You start with some high level and then you start adding details little by little. So, for example, if you think about building your dream house and someone asks you, what is your house? What do you want the house to look like? You don't start by saying, well, I want the room to be 10 by 12 and I want the bathroom to be on the left-hand side of the room and the closet on the right-hand side of the room. You don't start with that level of details. You start by saying, I want a house that's 3 bedrooms, 2 stories. I want it to have 2 full baths. I want it to have a basement. I want it to be in this area. So you start by just saying the high level information. And then as you start looking into each room, you're like, okay, now I'm going to talk about where the size of each room or where the bathroom is going to be located within each room. Or the closet. So you start adding little details little by little. So the same way we have to do a database design. So one of the things that students do when they are asked to do the database project at the end of the semester, they immediately sit and start creating tables. And you're starting with someone who wants to build a house, and immediately they buy the material and they start digging and nailing things, which is not what we want to do. So when we want to design a database, the first thing we want to do is identify the business rules. We need to talk to a lot of people and see what their requirements are. So for example, we said if you come to MCC and start talking to different people, you will find that they have different requirements. A student will have different requirements. They will want to know what courses are offered, what's the credit, what's my GPA, what do I need to graduate. A faculty will need to know different pieces of information. What are my students? What is their? I want to see their transcript. I want to see their entrance exams scores. HR will look at different information. So everyone will look at different information and provide you a different insight. So the first part of designing a database is knowing your business rules, talking to many customers, many people, and knowing the exact requirements. What is it that they want to store? Who's going to be accessing the data? What kind of reports do they want to be able to generate? And so when you're doing this database design, there are different levels of planning. And so we are going to have to come up with different data models. And when we say data model, it's just basically a bunch of concepts and notations for describing the data. So what we usually do is we draw pictures. And there are going to be different data models that we're going to be talking about. We start with the external model, and then we move on to the conceptual, internal, and then physical. External model is when we're talking to the customer. Conceptual is when we have like a high level concept of what we want to store. Internal, we're starting to actually add more details and think about, what the constraints are, what are our primary keys. And then physical model is when we actually go to the database and start writing those tables and creating those tables in the database. So in this chapter, we're going to talk about each of these different models.